You could not make this stuff up. Our energy self-harm, the way it's driving up your cost of living, killing jobs, making this nation more vulnerable. Yet this national energy self-harm reached an entirely ridiculous, although entirely predictable level today. This is Australia's largest electricity generator. It's the Eraring plant on New South Wales' Central Coast. It's owned by Origin Energy. Eraring burns black coal from 5 nearby coal mines to generate a peak capacity of 2,800 megawatts, providing more than 20% of all the power that's used in New South Wales. As you know, for many years, state and federal policies have been aimed at forcing power stations like Eraring to close. They want renewable energy instead, intermittent, unreliable renewables. So they've used your money to subsidise renewables and mandate large-scale renewable energy and boost green schemes and penalise fossil fuels, including with a carbon tax for a while. But as you know, we're now drastically short of power. So while Eraring was going to close at the end of this year, the New South Wales Labor government has now intervened to keep it going for another 2 years. Yeah, after using taxpayers' money for decades to force coal out, the government will now risk more than $200 million of taxpayers' money per year to keep this coal plant online.
This is a good deal for taxpayers as well as households and businesses. This ensures that the transition to renewables can be delivered without exposing the people of New South Wales to blackouts or to price spikes.
This is the insanity of Australia in the 21st century. The utter abuse of taxpayers by governments, using your money to subsidise coal out of the energy grid and using your money to subsidise coal back into the grid. It's as obscene as it is ludicrous. Still, when the Greens see something this crazy, they just say, hold my beer.
This isn't Labor keeping the lights on. This is Labor making the floods and fires worse. This will slow down the transition to renewables, and it is unjustifiable to use public funds to prop up coal.
Where do you start with that, hey? The Greens would rather we run out of power. This bloke wants you left in the dark and in the cold. And to boot, he pretends that Eraring will generate natural disasters. A complete nonsense, given Australia is 1% of global emissions and we're reducing ours while global emissions are actually rising, and given there is no evidence actually linking a single natural disaster to climate change. I guess the rantings of the Greens makes the rest of the lunatics seem a little more sane. But barely. Because in New South Wales, the previous coalition government was as crazy green as any government, and back more than 2 years ago, when we were warning them about where this was all heading, they told us it was all okay. In fact, they said the lights would stay on and prices would go down.
We've got a plan to do that. We've got a mechanism to do that. I'm confident.
Yeah, but your plan
not only keep the lights on, but we'll put downward pressure on prices as well.
Your plan's just been thrown into upheaval because the largest coal-fired generator, supplying 20% of New South Wales electricity, has just said it's dumping out. What can you say to guarantee not just the people of New South Wales, but everyone on the East Coast, that the national energy grid will have enough dispatchable supply in 10 years' time? And what will happen to prices in the meantime?
Well, I can say that AEMO, the independent system operator, the engineers that run the electricity system across the East Coast, have said that our plan will ensure that we keep lights on, will guarantee supply, even with the closure of Eraring. So our plan is a tested one by the engineers who run the system.
I mean, forgive my scepticism, hey? Forgive me for questioning these charlatans. Yeah, all those politicians and AEMO, the market operator, and those AEMO engineers, they were all telling us it was okay. They said we wouldn't need Eraring. What would a technological klutz like me know? It's always been so plain, so inevitable, like a slow-motion train wreck. Now, I'll tell you a couple of other things then. These are the same fools who keep telling us now that this world-first, unprecedented experiment of switching a whole developed economy to renewables plus storage can work.
The market is speaking, and the market tells us that the cheapest form of new energy is renewables.
We'll continue with the task at hand. That is getting more renewables into the system, which is the cheapest form of energy available.
Be afraid, be very afraid. The plain facts are these. The more renewables we have put in, the more unreliable our energy grid has become and the higher our energy prices have soared. That is incontestable. And the government's only plan is to do more of the same. So I'm going to make two more predictions. Labor's now risking hundreds of millions of dollars of your money to extend the life of the Eraring power station by 2 years. I predict that in 2 years' time, there will be another desperate effort by government to shovel more money to Origin Energy to stop this plant closing in 2027. And I predict that at that time, you will be paying even more for your power than you're paying now. Now, you can believe me, or you can believe the politicians and the so-called energy experts. But I've got to tell you, without any false modesty, my record is much better than theirs.